Hi, this is Blaine with Blaine Sutton Music. I'm back today to show you guys a couple more things. Today we're going to be talking about rules for navigating the fretboard. In the last video we talked about how I always see everything from pitch. As you go up the fretboard, the pitch goes up. A lot of people confuse up is this way on the guitar, but you know, this is the 3rd fret, this is the 5th fret. Number goes up, the pitch goes up. It's very logical. So always keep that in the back of your mind, because everything on guitar is going to make a lot more sense when you think about it in those terms. So today we'll be talking about those rules for navigating the fretboard. So holding the instrument. To navigate the fretboard efficiently, you need to hold the instrument correctly. I like to have it at an angle like this. A lot of people have it resting on their leg here. Some people prefer to do it a little bit more classical. They have it resting on their other leg. And you can get little like suction cup stands that go on the edge of your guitar and help hold it up comfortable for you. I usually just have it hanging off my strap, and I just kind of keep it at a steeper angle than most people. You'll notice that you can stretch your hands a little bit farther on the neck, especially when you get into more advanced stuff. If you have it at a bit more of an angle, you know, it looks kind of nerdy per se, but you know, when you can play guitar better than someone who has it neck diving, you know, you get the last laugh. So, you know, I study with Ken Karsh at Duquesne, and he is a stickler for having this up at an angle like that. So I've taken to it. It works really, really well. But anyway, so everything related to pitch, this is how you hold it. So again, with fingering the guitar, you want those fingers right below the fret. Now, to also navigate the fretboard, you want your fingers curved. On almost every chord, unless you're boring or it's a very obscure chord, which you probably will encounter early on in this journey, but later on, you know, those would be exceptions. But for now on, pretty much all your open, like cowboy chords, which we'll get to in the next video, you're gonna want those fingers curved, and the tips, you'll feel a bony part of your finger here, right in the tip, and that's what you really want to be making contact with the string. A lot of people go all flat fingered here, and there's two problems with that. One is you kind of get a little bit more of a deader sound, depending on the chord and exactly where you are. If you're a little off, you don't have as much leeway. You're just not as accurate. And then the other thing is, a lot of times, like for this D chord, for example, which we'll go over, you don't know it yet, if you're flat fingers, you'll choke out other strings. Your own fingers will get in the way of other strings, and you got to watch that with your your palm, you know, lower parts of your fingers, not just the fingertips, getting in the way of other strings. So you want to be really precise with that, and keep them curved. If you keep them curved, you're going to be a lot better off to start. So those are some couple rules for navigating the frets and the fingerboard, and as you undertake a lot of these chords. That's probably the biggest tip I can give you, is keep those fingers out of the way, keep them nice and curved, and keep those fingertips right below the fret. Stay efficient. And then moving on from that, let's go over the string names and the string numbers. We'll start with the string numbers first. So on guitar, there are 6 strings, generally. You can get like 8-string guitars, 7-string guitars, but those are quite less common. Most people have 6-string guitars. We're going to teach to that. 6 strings. You have your first string is the skinny string. string. We'll go over all that later. And then your 6th string is this big fat one here. A lot of people get this confused early on. This is important, especially if you want to read music on the guitar, because a lot of people think, oh, the first ones, they count towards them and away from them. They think the big fat one closest to them is the 1st string. It's not. Skinny string is 1st. Big fat string is 6th. And the way I remember that, and teach all my students to remember that, pretty much regardless of age, because once you hear the story, it's hard to forget. I imagine they were all a person, and you have a skinny little string, would be like a 100-pound Olympic marathoner, and your big fat string here is like a 600-pound professional sumo wrestler. Now, if they were having a foot race, the skinny string would win. Then you have your like 200-pound string. The 2nd string would presumably have a little bit more weight to carry, maybe a little bit further back. Then your 300-pound string, 3rd string, 4th string, 5th string, 6th string. You get the analogy. Point is, that's how you remember it. Skinny string, they had a race, skinny string's gonna win. But in naming them, I named them like from basically low to high, because that's how you generally hear chords and harmonies as we get more into this. So you have E, A, D, G, B, and E. And to remember that, I always go with Eddie, 8, Dynamite, Goodbye, Eddie. My younger students get a kick out of that. They think it's really funny, because it is. Again, that's Eddie, 8, Dynamite, Goodbye, Eddie. Now, my older students who are watching these videos might be like, well, okay, that's kind of dumb. Why are we spending so much time on this? It's really important. If you start learning chords and trying to read music or even tablature, and you don't have the strings sorted out, it's like trying to find your way in a big office building that you've never been to before. You got to know your way around before you can really get anything done efficiently. So very important to get those string numbers 1 through 6 under your belt and ingrained in your head. And likewise, the same thing with the Eddie 8 Dynamite Goodbye Eddie. Memorizing those strings. A couple ways to help with that is come up with little patterns of plucking between the strings and then going back down like, and you can say them slowly with you. Just quiz yourself like you were making a quiz in grade school for like your vocab test or something like that. But trust me, if you put in the work on this, with memorizing these, now it's going to be a lot easier when you start to branch out on the fretboard and navigate your way around to some real music. But again, learn this stuff that I talked about. Will make your journey on guitar a lot more clear-cut as you get into it. And thanks again for tuning in. I'm Blaine with Blaine Sutton Music, and we'll catch you next time. Take it easy.